Tobias Gray was a man out of time. He was a figure who seemed to belong to no particular era, yet he was present in all of them. His attire, a blend of ancient and modern, made him stand out wherever he went. People often wondered about his origins, but few dared to ask. Tobias carried an air of mystery, a silent guardian watching over the flow of time. He existed in all of time. From the dawn of civilization to the bustling metropolises of the future, Tobias was there. He witnessed the rise and fall of empires, the birth of new ideas, and the relentless march of progress. Each moment was a thread in the vast tapestry of history, and Tobias was the weaver, ensuring that every thread was in its rightful place. He was the guardian of the Chronos core, a powerful, ancient object. The Chronos core was not just a relic, it was the heart of time itself. It pulsed with an energy that connected past, present, and future. In Tobias's hands, it was both a tool and a responsibility, a beacon of hope and a burden of duty. It let him control the past, present, and future. With a mere thought, Tobias could alter the course of events, mend the fabric of time, or even glimpse into what was yet to come. But such power came with a price. Every change, every intervention weighed heavily on his soul. For hundreds of years, he protected time. He walked through the annals of history, a silent observer and an active participant. He was there during the great wars, the moments of peace, the discoveries that changed the world, and the tragedies that shaped humanity. Each era left its mark on him, and he, in turn, left his mark on each era. He fixed problems and made sure everything happened as it should. But he was lonely. Despite his interactions with countless individuals, Tobias remained an enigma, a solitary figure in the grand theater of time. He watched as generations came and went, forming bonds that he could never truly share. He carried the weight of so many lives, so many choices. Each decision he made rippled through time, affecting countless lives. The responsibility was immense, and the solitude that came with it was profound. Tobias often found himself reflecting on the nature of his existence, questioning the purpose of his eternal vigil. He loved humans, but he felt a sadness he couldn't explain. He saw the beauty in their fleeting lives, their capacity for love, and their resilience in the face of adversity. Yet he also saw the pain, the suffering, and the mistakes that repeated through the ages. This duality weighed heavily on his heart. Tobias was full of opposites. He was a paradox, a being of immense power and profound vulnerability. He was both a part of the world and apart from it, a guardian and a wanderer, a hero and a ghost. He was old but didn't age. Time had no hold on him, yet he felt the passage of every second. His body remained youthful, but his eyes carried the weight of centuries. They were windows to a soul that had seen too much and yet remained hopeful. He watched empires grow and crumble, civilizations rise and fall. Each epic was a chapter in the endless book of time, and Tobias was its eternal reader. He marveled at the ingenuity of humanity, their ability to build and rebuild, to dream and achieve. He saw the good and bad in people. He witnessed acts of kindness and cruelty, moments of brilliance and folly. Through it all, he maintained a belief in the inherent goodness of humanity, even when faced with its darkest aspects. But he still had hope. Hope that one day, humanity would learn from its mistakes, that the cycles of history would break, and a new era of peace and understanding would dawn. This hope was his guiding light, the force that kept him moving forward. He believed people were good, even though he fought against the bad things. His interventions were not just about correcting the past, but also about nurturing the potential for a better future. He saw the spark of greatness in every individual and sought to protect it. He was the guardian of time, a title that carried immense responsibility and honor. Tobias embraced it with all his being, knowing that his role was crucial in the grand scheme of existence, and time, he knew, always moved forward. No matter the challenges, the triumphs, or the losses, time was an unstoppable force. Tobias Gray, the guardian of time, stood as its eternal sentinel, ensuring that the river of time flowed unimpeded, carrying with it the hopes and dreams of all who lived. The cafe was on a quiet street in Paris, hidden from the busy city. It was a place where the hustle and bustle of the metropolis seemed to fade away, leaving behind a serene and tranquil atmosphere. The cobblestone streets, lined with quaint shops and charming buildings, added to the cafe's allure. It was as if this little corner of Paris existed in a different time, a different world altogether. It felt like time stood still there, a quiet place in a noisy world. The tables, often empty, seemed to invite passers-by to sit and take a moment to breathe. The gentle hum of conversation, the clinking of cups, and the occasional laughter created a soothing symphony that contrasted sharply with the city's chaos. It was a sanctuary for those seeking solace, a refuge for the weary soul. Rain fell on the windows, blurring the outside world into soft colors and fuzzy lights. The droplets danced on the glass, creating a mesmerizing pattern that was both calming and hypnotic. The sound of the rain, a gentle patter, added to the cafe's ambiance, making it a perfect place to escape from the world outside. The blurred city lights, seen through the rain-soaked windows, looked like distant stars in a foggy night sky. Inside, the cafe smelled like coffee and old books. The rich aroma of freshly brewed coffee mingled with the musty scent of aged paper, creating a unique and comforting fragrance. The wooden tables, worn with age, and the shelves lined with books gave the place a vintage charm. It was a haven for book lovers and coffee enthusiasts alike. A place where one could lose themselves in a good book while sipping on a perfect cup of coffee. Tobias sat at a small table in the back, looking at a chessboard. He was a regular at the cafe, often seen deep in thought, contemplating his next move. The chessboard was his constant companion, a silent witness to his inner battles. He would sit there for hours, lost in the game, oblivious to the world around him. The other patrons had grown accustomed to his presence, often wondering about the stories behind his intense focus. The chess pieces were beautiful, made of black and white stone with lots of tiny details. Each piece was a work of art, meticulously crafted with intricate designs. The knights with their proud stances, the bishops with their solemn expressions, and the pawns with their humble demeanor, all told a story of their own. Tobias handled them with care, as if they were precious relics, each move a deliberate and thoughtful decision. The board was a smooth piece of marble, cool to the touch. Its polished surface reflected the soft light of the cafe, adding a touch of elegance to the game. The contrast between the black and white squares was striking, symbolizing the eternal struggle between opposing forces. Tobias often found himself tracing the lines of the board, lost in thought, as if seeking answers to questions only he knew. Chess is a game of strategy, a mental battle. It requires foresight, patience, and a deep understanding of the opponent's mind. Each move is a calculated risk, a step towards victory or defeat. For many, it is a pastime, a way to pass the time and challenge oneself. But for Tobias, it was more than just a game. It was a reflection of his life, a mirror to his soul. But for Tobias, it was more. It was a way to process his thoughts, to make sense of the chaos within. Each move on the board represented a choice, a decision he had to make in his own life. The game was his therapy, a way to confront his fears and doubts. The cafe, with its peaceful ambiance, provided the perfect backdrop for his introspection. It showed the struggles inside him, the hard choices he had to make. The game of chess, with its endless possibilities and outcomes, mirrored the complexities of his own journey. Each piece, each move, was a step towards understanding himself better. And in the quiet corners of the cafe, amidst the aroma of coffee and the sound of rain, Tobias found a sense of peace, a moment of clarity in an otherwise turbulent world. The bell above the cafe door rang. Tobias knew who it was without looking. He felt her, like a ripple in time. Seraphina Vale. She was a rogue chronarch, like him, but Tobias followed his duty. Seraphina wanted to change time for her own reasons. She walked like a ghost, her feet making no sound on the wooden floor. Her bright green eyes burned with ambition and something darker that Tobias couldn't understand. She was beautiful and dangerous, like a storm. The cafe felt different when she arrived, full of tension. "You came," Tobias said, his voice calm, hiding his feelings. "As promised," Seraphina answered, a small smile on her face. "Ready to play for the fate of the world?" Their game wasn't a normal game. Every move, every piece they lost, every plan could change history. Lives were at risk, empires could fall, and time itself was in danger. They played quietly. The only sound was the chess pieces on the marble board. Each move was a risk, a gamble with huge consequences. Tobias, the guardian, played with a heavy heart, feeling his responsibility. Seraphina, the rebel, played with cold focus, her eyes burning. Tobias thought hard about his next move. Seraphina's last move was a big risk, and it could undo centuries of work. He could stop her, but what would it cost? He thought of his wife, Eleanor. He saw her kind smile, her gentle eyes, and remembered her touch. She was gone, lost to time. But Seraphina promised she could change the past, bring Eleanor back. Could he resist? Could he risk the world, risk time itself, to hold Eleanor again? This terrible question filled his mind. "Checkmate in 4 moves, Tobias," Seraphina said, her voice amused. Her green eyes shone, and a slow smile spread across her face. "You lost." Tobias looked at the board. She was right. He was so busy with his own thoughts, his past, that he missed her plan. He was going to lose. He looked at Seraphina. "You want to control time, Seraphina," he said sadly. "But time is like a river. You can change its path, stop it, even pollute it. But it always finds its way, and those who try to control it, they get swept away." Seraphina laughed, a cold, empty laugh that echoed through the ancient trees and across the timeless landscapes. Her laughter was a stark contrast to the beauty around her, a haunting melody that seemed to mock the serenity of nature. "So dramatic, Tobias, you always liked big speeches." She leaned closer, her eyes piercing through his soul, searching for the truth he tried so hard to hide. "But what are speeches without actions? Empty words, just like your promises." Tobias's face tightened, his worry evident. "But you're afraid. Afraid of our power, afraid of the choices we have to make," she continued, her voice softening but still carrying the weight of her accusations. She was right. He was afraid of his duty, the weight of all those lives that depended on him. The responsibility was a heavy burden, one that he had carried for centuries. Each decision, each action could alter the course of history. He was afraid of the bad things inside him, the wish to change time for himself, to fix his past. The temptation was always there, lurking in the shadows of his mind, the desire to rewrite his own story, to erase the pain and regret. He had seen what happened when people tried to be like God, to change the world. The ruins of their attempts stood as grim reminders of their hubris. Broken buildings, deserted villages, and dilapidated structures were all that remained of their dream. It was always a disaster. Nature's wrath was unforgiving, and the consequences of tampering with time were catastrophic. The aftermath of their actions was a testament to the folly of playing God, and he, Tobias Gray, guardian of time, would not cause that, not even for Eleanor, not even for love. His resolve was unshakable, his duty clear. He would protect the timeline, no matter the personal cost. The weight of ages rested on his shoulders, and he would bear it with unwavering determination. "You think I'm cautious because I'm afraid, Seraphina," Tobias said, his voice strong again. "I've seen what happens when people are too ambitious. I've seen the damage caused by those who think they can control time." He knocked over his king. "I choose to protect time, even if I lose my own happiness, even if I have to live with my past." Seraphina's smile disappeared. She stared at the fallen king. "You'd rather lose than win? You'd give up everything for a broken world that doesn't remember you?" "Some things," Tobias said sadly, "are worth fighting for even if you lose them." The air shimmered and the cafe blurred. The Chronos core in Tobias's pocket glowed blue. It was time. Time for Seraphina's plans to fail, for time to fix itself, even if the world forgot Tobias and his sacrifice. "This isn't over, Tobias!" Seraphina hissed. "I will find a way. I will change this world, with or without you." And then, she was gone, disappearing into time. Tobias was alone with his memories, and the smell of coffee. The cafe was empty, the rain had stopped, and the world, unaware of the battle, kept turning. The Chronos Gambit was over, but the fight for time had just begun.